good. You're finally awake. Welcome to Rising Leviathan. So, I'm a Gen Z man born in 1997. I don't really think about generational lines a lot, but I think at least the year is relevant for you to surmise, along with the rest of this piece, what my life has been like so far. If you're a male born between the late 90s and early 2000s, you'll be within range of relating to me, at least. And those born outside this range, I'm sure you have had similar experiences, albeit nuanced a bit differently. The echoes of the past, they whisper to us, don't they? Guiding our steps, yet sometimes obscuring the path ahead. It's a delicate balance, this dance between what we knew and what remains veiled. I think many hold back on finding meaningful experiences with people out of fear of judgment, ostracization, or malice. This is relatable because in our timeline in this weird, chaotic era of human history, at least in the Western world, you don't really have the luxury to be around people you actually want to be around most of the time. Like with the family you're born into, you may love them unless you have an abusive family, but you still might not have a more personal bond with them on a level where they made a profound impact on you, because you might have not interacted based on mutual interest and passion. This is for a more obvious reason, because you don't choose who you are born to, but your wants and desires are mirrored in activities that reflect who you really are. Or with school growing up, for what I would guess for most people, most aren't friends with most of their classmates, especially given that fact that most of those 8 hours you are busy learning and studying. Altercations with your peers can outweigh the beneficial effects of making friends with whatever few academic peers you can, depending on the severity. This is, of course, where the most familiar variety of archetypes in our modern myth comes into play. The stereotypes of different cliques, from nerds, geeks, jocks, the popular girl, etc. So, if you are one of the popular kids, all of this following might not be relatable, but who knows, maybe the superficiality of the sheer masses of friends you have had, where you didn't have the focus and the time to build depth with just a handful of friends, left some emptiness in you that you never fully considered, but you had a slight feeling that you were missing some deeper form of proximity with people. Into adulthood, you obviously don't choose your co-workers either, so you are left with fumbling through different menial and repetitive tasks, awkwardly signaling to co-workers the next step. Meeting new people can be fun, small talk and all, but meeting a whole new set of people you're supposed to see, a third of your life until you die, retire, or move on to another job, is extremely draining and disappointing that you have to spend so much time with the same set of people without developing a more profound bond. That's why I have observed people making their job a home away from home, and people breaking the common advice not to mix business and pleasure by forming friendships with people at work. I have plenty of times myself, or the reverse, where once a close friend of mine got me a job working at a smoothie shop. We would have fun at work, while remaining professional when customers were there and making the job a priority, before finding ways to make the time pass faster. The simple things like playing music on a Bluetooth speaker we brought added a nice, satisfying touch, where between tasks without customers present, we would headbang and dance around to our favorite music. This was back in 2018 to 2019, when I was 21 and some of the most memorable years of my life. This friend of mine who got me the job I met through music when we joined a band after high school. So after the band broke up, he found me this job where we would listen to our favorite genres and then we would jam whenever we were free outside of work. To summarize briefly, the social isolation of our time, the institutions of family, school, and work don't necessarily scratch a particular itch that many are a loss of words to describe. If you were able to make a nice life for yourself because you had great family and friends growing up, school was a great experience for you, and you were able to manage your way through working and college until you made it, then congratulations. I'm proud of you, but this experience I'm creating may not relate to you. But all are welcome, of course. That indescribable essence to life is why we are here. That aspect of the immutable self which connects us to both life, death, and all the spaces in between in the dream realm. It's tragic that modern society doesn't value the latter half of the immutable self, the dimension of chaos and art. That's why I'm here as a philosopher, to express in various forms of media and with words as much as I can that indescribable element to life, to make the unknown of the soul known, to bring light to the shadow. And I want all of you to join me in exploring different possible ideas, for being a philosopher isn't such a lofty goal or pretentious as you think, because anyone is a philosopher if they have decent critical thinking skills and is curious about the truth. Considering the social isolation in our current era, where it seems like not one person is fully close to you in a way that's really satisfying, or at least whoever is close to you is only a part of your life. There should be a way for us as a people to carry forward and find social cohesion again. Given the advents of modern technology that created the situation we live in, maybe we can use such technology to our advantage to remedy our frustrations. This would take an understanding that technology isn't inherently good or evil. Rather, it's a powerful force within itself that creates effects that are extreme in both good and evil. A foundational principle and metaphor that I have come up with is that advancements in technology is like a blade with its effects on reality. It takes so much refinement and effort to create something that is a viable tool from raw materials from nature, with many reiterations and succeeding versions, like with the blade. And with said blade you can hunt to feed your family and defend yourself and loved ones, or you can destroy someone. Both polarizing extremes of potential come from the same force, the blade itself, manifested into reality out of our sheer will, intelligence, and opposable thumbs. This is the aspect of the light and dark I want to channel through the interconnectivity of the internet, to connect a community in ways we didn't think possible and indulge in unforeseen cultural phenomenon to invoke a sense of wonder and meaning in life, some of which I'm sure you've experienced already. Have you ever felt that sense of a larger-than-life element whenever you would have a small world experience, like running into someone at the store? Or like that feeling when you hit the town with friends, even something as simple as grabbing coffee and talking? That's what I want to tap into, for I'm sure most of you have come across the idea that mental health isn't as simple as just neurochemicals firing between synapses in the brain, fixing whatever imbalance of neurochemicals. And then when you're at some baseline that somehow you'll magically feel better and content in life. I'm sure you all know that that's a convenient lie, for one must truly live. To live life with such fervent curiosity and passion, to channel all of this into unveiling meaning in life. With economic hardship and social isolation involved with the current times, that's where I see video games come into play in most people's life in our generation, not just as a coping mechanism, but also an outlet to satisfy that very indescribable itch I mentioned before, something beyond our forward consciousness, and is our life force's connection with death and dreams. For me and many of you, that's where the seminal video game series Dark Souls comes into play. A dark medieval fantasy set in such a dreamlike world that sucked many of us in so unexpectedly and ended up killing a lot of other games with just how fantastic it was. With its rhythmic storytelling that was just vague enough to leave a sense of ominous mystery, but present enough to leave an impact and to keep us coming back for more. To its addicting combat that felt so satisfying and provided a fair yet stern challenge for us. I think this key element is what people have been missing in their lives, and even in a lot of media, including video games. That meaningful and innate sense of satisfaction that comes with meeting an obstacle head-on and persevering. I won't explore much more on Dark Souls for now, for I'm sure you all have seen many lore videos, at least for those who loved the series. So, this piece was making my journey's presence known on the internet. I've come to a point in my life where I felt inspired enough from other artists and creators to where I finally felt compelled to create my own domain to indulge in our favorite art forms together. I'm eager to tap into that larger-than-life element with you all, with such ideas like how video games are the ultimate art form because they blend all the major art forms together to create its own unique dimension and experience that embodies something like an epic tale or psychedelic trip, which I'm sure many of you have come across this idea. From storytelling, concept art, 3D modeling, and music scoring, it makes sense why so many are enthralled with such an experience. It's astonishing to think we've come full circle from ancient day to experience life in such a mystical way, just like how I think humans lived back then, but instead now through art, where the gods are very real psychological symbols. It's a wonder to reflect on everything that has happened in human history to be at this point, where science and technology have advanced to such a degree where we can simulate full fantasy worlds, where before such experiences were just the stuff of dreams, and in ancient days, a living reality. That's the potential of what I'm considering the lives people can be living by exploring different themes of humanity under the lens of philosophy through art and video games. For I'm sure our souls are dying for more in these trying times. What do you think? Please comment below some observations you have on our current era and where you see the possibilities in life. I'd love to read what you guys have to say, and like and subscribe for more. Until next time, my friends, and don't you dare go hollow.